All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of this thing where people talk about eating meat and can't stop talking about eating meat. Today, we're going to talk about a documentary coming out called Sacred Cow. And I got a couple of the usual suspects with me, Justin and Raymond, and Charmaine's back. She's been on a few times. And then Shawn Baker was nice enough to stop by while he's out walking. It's a nice night for a walk, isn't it, Shawn?
That is nice. Yeah, look at all the Christmas lights at the neighborhoods and stuff. So it's pretty pleasant, about 60 degrees. So that's pretty nice.
It's hilly where you live too. So I bet it's a little bit of a putt going up and down those hills.
Yeah, I'm going up the hill right now. So if I'm out of breath, it's because I'm walking up and down a hill.
Yeah. Right.
And Shawn, always being so controversial, you're not wearing your mask.
Oh yeah. I'm usually terrified to be outside without a mask on, but
dark enough that they'll never see, right?
Yeah.
So we all watched the video. Shawn was saying it was like a month ago when he saw it, but the rest of us have seen it recently. And I don't think there's a whole lot of new stuff in this video for most of us, but it's a very, very well done video. What did you guys think?
Made me want to be a farmer. I mean, it had that goal where it's like, oh man, I want to go out and just get some sheep or whatever. You know how that little boy that bought all those sheep. I was like, man, I could do that.
Yeah, those sheep did look like they'd be cool to hang out with. They're just so easy going. It's, they're somewhere between a dog and a cat, it seems like.
So adorable.
Or cute, yeah.
So Charmaine, I heard you're a big fan of the film, right?
Yeah. I actually, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know a whole lot about regenerative farming before I watched it. So to me, it was like really eye opening. But I was just like, yeah, it was the same as Raymond. I was like, dude, we gotta open up a farm right now and save the world, and everybody can be united. And I thought it was awesome.
Well, it's kind of cool too, because these farms, a lot of times they have cattle and sheep and pigs and chicken and turkeys. And then all these other animals show up. You see the foxes and the owls and the crows and the mice and everything. And then the land's more sustainable. The water penetrates the soil better and staves off desertification. And sometimes in some cases it regenerates the soil in places that have been turned to desert, and it turns back into prairie land where the animals can live. Shawn, you've visited some of these regenerative ranches, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been on a couple. In fact, there's one right down the road from me. Well, and from I guess from everyone who's in California, I guess Charmaine and you as well. There's a five bar beef ranch in Trabuco Canyon here in Orange County. So Frank Fitzpatrick, I've been to his place, checked it out. I've had him over my house. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. And then I was also, when I saw the film, I very pleased I got to interview several of the people that were in the film, including both Diana Rogers, Rob Wolf, Gabe Brown recently, Jason Roundtree. So it's been pretty cool to see those people and then actually talk to them and dig a little deeper. But yeah, I thought it was a good film. Hopefully it'll get wide distributorship and a lot of viewing, because I think it's a message that needs to get out there, because it's a certainly a more tenable and viable solution for actually fixing the environment, as opposed to just not damaging it as much in theory. I'm walking to a part of my neighborhood I've never been to, so hopefully I don't get lost.
I hope it's not the bad part of your neighborhood.
There's not a bad part in this neighborhood. I got to tell you, it's a.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's not. Yeah.
Shawn, you're in Orange County?
Yeah, I'm in Orange County. I'm in Laguna Hills.
I'm gonna move to Irvine in a few weeks.
Oh, cool. Well, that's just down the street. Like I said, I'm probably 10 miles from Irvine or something like that.
Oh yeah, so I can go to that farm. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, you can get your meat from Frank. No, he's the way he does it is he sells it by the part, like quarter cow, half cow. I think his minimum is a quarter, maybe it might even be a half, but I can't remember. So you have to get a freezer.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to go visit him and do a podcast with him.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be
Yeah.
open to it. I mean, he's totally open to it. I've done a podcast with him. I'm supposed to go to his house to eat some taco meat. He wants to make some taco meat for us from his animals. I couldn't because there was a big fire. You know, there's another fire up in Irvine right now, or there was yesterday.
Oh yeah.
But and I was out of town dealing with my father's passing and stuff, so I kind of got a little bit off regular plan. Oh, I know where I'm at now. Okay, cool. I found a new route for me to walk on. Okay, cool. So that adds another 15 minutes on my usual route. So cool.
Shawn, I'm sorry, what's the name of the farm?
5 Bar.
It's called 5 Bar.
Hmm.
5 Bar Beef, I think, is what he calls it. I know it's 5 Bar, but it might be 5 Bar Beef. Frank Fitzpatrick is the proprietor, and his wife is someone who is a former physician, I think an obstetrician, if I'm not mistaken. But she ended up stopping medical practice, and now she works on a ranch.
Wow.
Well, definitely look up the contact information and put that in the show notes for everybody. And
Yeah. So for anybody local here to Orange County or the general area, I know you'll do ship all over California, but
excellent.
yeah, it's good. I think like I said, watching the movie, it makes you want to, if not become one of them, at the very least support these guys that are making a big difference in the world.
Yeah, I think being able to set up like local networks so people know to get to where they can get that food in their area. I mean, if you're willing to drive to Costco and stand in line for an hour, why not drive 30 minutes further and get it from the farmer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Particularly if you get in bulk, then then all you gotta do is walk to your refrigerator. You can eat for 3 months or something like that, or some of us can.
So how long does it take you think to eat a cow, Shawn?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I think I probably go through. If you figure the average cow carcass, meat is about 400 to 500 pounds, something like that. So I'm guessing probably 100 pounds a month, maybe something like that. Not quite that much anymore, but yeah, I probably could go through 2 to 3 cows a year personally. Would be me.
That's awesome.
Charmaine, to put you on the spot, how many cows do you think you could eat in a year?
Oh my God. 2 or 3, give or take.
See, that's also the beauty is that, like Dr. Baker, three lives. That's really it. That feeds them. That's it. You don't have to deal with all the insects dying, all of the destruction, the ecocide that happens when you put plant foods in place. And I love that they even describe that. And I like that on that.
Yeah, and Shawn's got a bigger appetite. He's tall, he's very muscular, he works out really hard. So, but a cow, for people who don't know, 1 cow is roughly the same amount of calories as a person eats in a year. So one person typically can live off of 1 cow. So
yeah, probably so. Most people, and I think this is something that I talked about before. When we look at people that go on a meat-based or carnivore diet, I mean, the amount of food you waste is almost none.
Right.
The trash you produce, very little. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can measure this stuff. Now, I mean, back to one of the things about the film, which I don't believe they touched on to the degree that I would have liked them to, is that about cultured meat, because we see that, I think it was Singapore that just approved it for sale, in their country. So I think it's like a chicken product or something like that. But, it's coming for sure. And it's going to be part of the marketplace. But I mean, the people tell you it's environmentally friendly and all that stuff, but it's just, the inputs to make that stuff, it's just more monocrops. It's just more soybeans and peas. They got to feed those cells proteins and fats and glucose and, other substances. And where do they get those things from? They basically grow them in a field, a bunch of peas and beans, grind them up, make protein isolates out of them, and then in turn feed it to the cells. So it's a very inefficient process, actually. And it's also very environmentally destructive relative to, for certainly, regenerative agriculture. So I think that's just something that message needs to get out there, and it needs to be broadcast very widely.
Or they're making it from feces, and that's still, I mean, I don't know how much you process that feces. I don't know if I'm still interested in eating it after that. That's got to be a hard sell. And I was really into the whole like pharmaceutical meat, I guess you could call it, you know, because when I was more in the vegan community, that was kind of like the compromise that the vegans would make with you. It'd be like, oh, okay, you can eat your meat as long as it's like labs, because then you're not killing an animal. And when I was in that world like that, like I was willing to agree with that, you know. But now through the film and through learning as much as I have now in the carnivore community, I really don't think they're going to actually be able to mimic the nutrients in the actual meat, whether it's from feces or from the plants or whatever. I mean, I think there's no way to develop it without having some kind of deficiency. You know, I just don't. We might be smart, but we're not that smart. You know.
Well, I mean, it's not even. I don't even think it's an issue of whether it's a complete protein or a deficiency. I mean, because they'll just say, you know, you supplement that. I think what the problem really is that it's not environmentally sustainable in the way they're going to tell you it is. And it's something that, you know, I think you'll see vegans line up like immediately to start using this stuff because they're starving for this stuff, but they don't want to kill the animals. And so it'll be funny to see the about face they take on, oh, it's healthy, it's dangerous, you know, it's awful for you. How they're gonna twist that narrative, say, oh well, actually this meat is okay and it's not unhealthy. But it's like you'll see, or an ethical argument, they're not going to be able to. I think the health argument is already fallen apart and is really falling apart quickly, particularly as more and more of these people demonstrate.
Oh,
carnivore diet is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, they're reinventing the wheel here. I mean, meat's already a perfect food. Why make fake meat? You know, why use a giant factory to extract nitrogen out of the air to make fertilizer and then dump it on the soil and kill the soil with a bunch of pesticides and herbicides and destroy all the rodents and birds and mice and foxes and pigs and everything else?
Well, you know, the answer, Tom, it's not any altruistic reason. It's because it's more financially lucrative to do so. I mean, that is the entire raison d'etre of why these guys are gonna, you know, why they're doing this stuff. And so, I mean, you know, they're out there with one out of the side of their mouth, they're talking about how it's so healthy and sustainable and ethical. But the real driver of the needle is, you know, money for my Silicon Valley venture capitalists that are going to be, you know, they're demanding, you know, you 10x it, 100x it, so they can get their money back. And that's why they're, you know, you already see Beyond Meat sourcing their, you know, and Beyond Meat's just one of those faux plant proteins, but they're already sourcing their, you know, the resources from China, you know, GMO monocrop from China. That's where they get their soybean for their, or I guess a pea protein on Beyond Meat, but that's where they're getting their raw, you know, the raw ingredients.
So they grow soybeans in Brazil by burning down the rainforest, and they ship them over to China for processing, and then they wind up in the food coming here. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
so many fossil fuels.
Yeah, that's probably impossible. Or, you know, I think what they do is, you know, they have some monocrop in China for their, you know, GMO cropped stuff in China for their stuff for Beyond Meat, and you know, don't tell anybody that. That's a secret. We don't want them to know.
Right.
I really like the parts with Joel Salatin on the video. You know, him talking about, you know, he's kind of a pioneer in all this. You know, is Joel, because he's been doing it for what, 40 years, 45 years, 50 years, something like that. You know, before regenerative was even a word, I think, of farming.
Yeah, I think it was in the 80s. Yeah.
And, you know, one of the lines was really cool about how, you know, modernity and how we've separated ourselves from food. We're all crammed in these cities. We have these supermarkets and just the disconnect. And I feel that the carnivore diet, this way of eating, ancestral lifestyle, kind of all meld together, it seems. It's like once you start going in that direction, it's kind of hard to not want to live as close ancestrally as possible. And I always like one of the things you say, Shawn, you know, expose yourself to heat, expose yourself to cold, eat meat, lift heavy. I mean, it's kind of like all you really need, you know, for like 90% of people. I think that message is really cool.
The other thing I noticed is on the video, we talked about the desertification of those forests. Remember that guy? I mean, it was amazing to me. That's one reason by itself to reforest our deserts is a good enough reason alone why we need to go heavier on the meats.
Yeah. And I think
that might have been Alan Savory. I'm guessing. I don't know if they had. Do they have Savory on the show? I can't remember.
There was some Mexican guy. I guess he was with the Savory Institute. Okay. I'm not sure.
He's showing how that area used to be more like a savanna.
Yeah, that's in Chihuahua. I forget the guy's name now, but maybe I'll get him on our podcast at some point. You know, the one thing that I thought was pretty cool, because I believe Gabe Brown was in that show. I'm fairly certain he was. And when I interviewed Gabe, and they've got a group of guys, it's Alan Williams, Gabe Brown, I think Ray Archuleta, and then one other, Shane New, who I've interviewed all those guys except for Ray Archuleta. And Gabe has told me that their consulting company, which does regenerative agriculture, and they're seeing a tremendous growth over the last 5 years and projecting, you know, a ton more. But they're actually seeing a lot of really big industry support. And, you know, like I said, I think this is something that, you know, it's going to take market demand, market share, and industry willing to meet that market demand. So as long as people keep saying, hey, we want this, we want this, we want this, we don't want the fake meat, we don't want the cultured crap, we want real meat, and we want it to impact the environment in a positive way, we'll see that they will actually do that. And I think that's something that if they start doing that in significant, you know, at a significant level of the, you know, market penetrance, we'll see prices come down as well. Because, you know, that's the one advantage to industrialization is economies of scale. And they tend to, you know, what I'm seeing is many of the regenerative ranchers and people in farming and ranching are realizing that the only real way to make money and to be sustainable is to adopt these regenerative practices. So we're seeing many of the ranchers just saying, hey, I cannot make it as a traditional, you know, commercial farmer or rancher. I've got to, you know, do this thing. So we're seeing that is happening organically just due to the just how the industrial market has evolved or devolved, I guess.
Well, and I think it's that thing where meat became a big centralized industry where it wasn't very diverse. And now those big industries are looking at these fake meats as a way to make higher profits. And in a way, they're going to leave the door open for the smaller guy, the regenerative guy, the local guy to develop his market, because if they shift out of meat production into fake meat production, you know.
Well, there's some there. I mean, they're definitely rebranding themselves as protein companies. You know, it's like Tyson is no longer a meat company; it is a protein company, and that includes the alternative proteins. But what I'm saying is, when I talked with Gabe Brown, he says we're in direct you know, negotiations with one of the big four meat packing industries, which would be either Tyson, Cargill, JBS, or National Beef. And it's probably Tyson or Cargill, because National Beef and JBS are Brazilian-owned companies. And so either Tyson or Cargill is going to make a significant investment into regenerative agriculture. Now, at the same time, they're investing in plant-based meat and all that stuff. But it could just mean that they're recognizing that this other emerging market is coming. And I think that's important. And I think we need to really push for that, because, like I said, it's important to support direct to consumer ranchers. And I think we need to do that as well. But like I said, at the same time, you know, these big, huge market forces are dominated by these huge, giant companies, which unfortunately, that's the way the world works.
Another great part of the film. Oh, go ahead, Raymond. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to piggyback on that. The question is, do we want Cargill to be taking our regenerative meat also? And the question is whether they're actually going to pay them fairly. Meanwhile, the consumer, we're willing to pay a lot of money for this stuff. So I hope that it goes on the consumer route, where we make them, you know, the money they want, and not Cargill and the others.
Yeah, no, obviously, like I said, I think most of us sort of side with the little guy, with the small business. And we see that in this, you know, we see the same sentiment right now with this coronavirus pandemic, where we're seeing all these you know, I can walk into Target or Costco and buy a picture frame, even though it's, you know, you would argue that's not really an essential item, but I can't go to a small mom and pop shop that sells the same picture frame because they're considered non-essential. And I mean, honestly, I mean, you think about the science behind that, it's just nonsensical. I mean, standing in one store versus the other store makes no difference, you know? I mean, you basically just concentrate everybody into one area. You know, you get everybody concentrated in Costco where they could be out diversified in all these other small businesses. So, I mean, it's just, it's insane. But I, like I said, I think that, you know, having that as an option, even if it's by these big companies, at least it will protect that, you know, protect our ability to obtain, you know, food that we want to eat and not the crap that they're trying to profit on.
Absolutely.
And they have more publicity too, right? Like they would be able to change culture. I feel like they could impact culture much more.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've got a bigger advertising budget. Yeah, that's,
if it's for good though. But
yeah, you see how saturated the social media is and all the marketing that goes into trying to get us to eat these alternative proteins and this fake meat stuff. I mean, we see it everywhere. It's constantly, it's being used. And that has been funded by Silicon Valley, you know, with, you know, an industry that is, you know, projected to be, you know, I mean, right now, maybe it's 10 billion a year, projected to be maybe 150 billion a year by 10 years from now. The traditional meat industry I think is close to $1 trillion industry. So they've got worldwide. So they've got just enormous amounts of, you know, funding capital. The problem is they don't need to, they've traditionally never needed to advertise. I mean, you don't need to advertise to eat meat. Humans do it instinctively. You know, it tastes good and it sells itself. And so it's a product. But now they're becoming, you know, I think some people have seen the light and they have to sort of step up their game. And so I kind of lamented the fact that National Cattlemen's Beef Association and the, you know, Beef Checkoff has done an abysmal job in the last, you know, I mean, the last marketing campaign about beef that I can remember is beef, it's what's for dinner. And I think that was with Stan Miller back in the 1990s, right? That's the last time we saw anything like that.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember hardly any meat commercials. Honestly, I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the counterpoint, people would say, you know, there's the Whopper and the Burger King and McDonald's advertising and doing that already. So they're selling the, you know, the commercialized part of the product. But I mean, as far as the beef industry itself, I mean, they sit on a lot of money. You know, I have a little bit of a glimmer of hope that I might get some funding from these guys to help with this clinical trial I'm doing. So we'll see what happens. I know one of the Washington reps from the the U.S. Cattlemen's Association talked to me about 2 months ago, said, hey, we're going to see, I think we'd be able to get them to cough up some funding after the first of the year once they set their budget. So I'm going to see about that. So that would be nice. Get that going.
We should, you might be sick of talking about it, but we should do a podcast about your study you're trying to fund. That'd be fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, I did. I think I did one with somebody, I can't remember. I think maybe it was Kelly Hogan. I talked to her about this funding. I think I've touched on that on Michaela's podcast and a few others.
Well, I'll be
trying to, you know, where we're at with that is, you know, basically we're scoping the project that we can do.
We should, you know, it'd be a great funding idea if I challenge you to an eating contest and people they bet or they fund, and however many we can eat, they donate like $5 for every pound of meat that each of us eat.
Justin said you can eat more Flying Dutchman than you can, and Justin's weighing in about $1.35 right now.
Yeah.
I'd pay to see that. Maybe we'll do a pay-per-view of that.
Justin, are you a big eater?
I can out eat Tom. Yeah. I can eat more food than Tom. We can do Korean barbecue or what, Charmaine?
Oh, I said, are you serious?
Yes, I can eat more food than Tom. I go to Tom's house and I devour everything in his fridge. Basically, he could just keep feeding me and I won't stop eating. Basically, like literally just handing me like stuff and I'll just keep eating it. So yeah, eating contest. I'm trying to start carnivore competitive eating. That's honestly my goal, is to make it a thing.
I'll start the women's.
All right, there you go.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, you guys, I mean, Tom, you may remember I interviewed Molly Schuyler. I don't know if you remember when I interviewed her on HBO. I don't know. But let me just put a benchmark out there for you, Justin. So Molly walked into this restaurant, I think it was in Madison, Wisconsin, a big steakhouse. They had a prime rib challenge. And the previous record was 10 pounds of prime rib. And she went in there and she asked the owner of the restaurant, she says, do I have to stop once I beat it? That is, say if I eat like 10.5 pounds, I can't stop. And they said, no, you can keep going. And so I want to show you this house right here. It's Baby Yoda. And
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my god.
yeah, it's a pretty, they did it right. Yeah. So, but anyway, Molly got through 10 pounds and then just kept going. And then she got to like 15 pounds, 17 pounds, 18 pounds, 20 pounds, 21 pounds, 22 pounds, 22 and a half pounds. And they ran out of meat. And there was no more to get.
Oh my
She
God.
ate the whole out of all their meat. And so she had to stop. The only reason she stopped is because they ran out of meat. So she put down 22 and a half pounds of meat in one sitting. So that's and she's like, she's probably 120 pounds, I'm guessing, something like that. Just
She's
ridiculous.
not very big.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of interesting because if you go online and you look like what is the capacity of a wolf's stomach, a wolf can eat about 22 pounds of meat.
Oh my God.
And then that's what they can do. I mean, I literally looked that up and I saw that she's like just like a gray wolf. And gray wolves are about 140 pounds. So I was just like, wow, you're like identical to a wolf.
Yeah. Wow.
But she could also eat like 3 gallons of mayonnaise. So
Well, yeah. She told me she was she did a challenge where it was like she had to drink like, it was something like six liters of Westen oil or something like that. Something totally she said she was on the bathroom for like a week after that.
Oh no,
Never did it again.
no.
Oh dang.
some people are so robust.
Yeah. No thanks for that on me.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was kind of obsessed with her after I saw her on your podcast. I watched a bunch of videos and it was mind blowing.
Yeah, if you ever see her go to the Texan, the big Texan in Amarillo and put down that 72-ounce steak in like 2.5 minutes, I mean, it's pretty impressive. And she doesn't even, no fork and knife. She just picks it up and just starts, just chewing on it like an animal.
She's a true wolf.
Yeah, true wolf. That's it.
Yep, she just doesn't. I don't think she swallows. I mean, I don't think she chews. I think she just bites and swallows. So it's just kind of crazy. Anyway,
I'm up for the challenge. Let's do it.
What else about?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, if Eating-Out stays open, we'll get you and Justin together so you can eat the most.
We'll see. We'll see what my schedule looks like. But anyway, I went through my lean phase and now I'm bulking back up. So anyway.
Now's the time. But yeah, about the film, I think it's hard to talk about it without talking about the vegetarian myth and Leary Keith. Is that my saying her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great part of it too, because they already preemptive, having that in there is so important because they know the film is just going to get bombed by vegan activists, vegetarians, vegans of all different kind of sorts. So having her in there and her experience of being so sick from vegetables, like more sick than most of us even got from eating vegetables, literal issues with her back and spine supposedly from the vegetarian. I mean, that's on another level. I mean, going vegan was this a thing is that it was, well, it's probably the absolute worst thing that any of us could do. I know I'm probably the only one in this group that it went the most vegan route, but it is the worst thing that if you're trying to solve a health problem is probably the worst thing you can do. I mean, aside from purely just weight loss alone, but I think even that is temporary.
I mean, I was vegan for a month and it was horrible. I mean, I'm sorry, but just at least my experience is like my joint, like I was only a freshman in college and then I thought it would be healthy, but then like my hair started falling out and my knees got so much pain and I'm young, and I was like coming right out of high school, so it was like crazy.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I hope people take away from this is, if you're ideologic or you feel like you want to do something, particularly when you're young, you're young and kind of naive and optimistic, and you get older, you get a little bit more jaded and practical perhaps, but you want to do something, be an activist or feel like you're making a difference somehow. So rather than going vegan, I'm hoping that films like this will inspire people to want to, help out, support, kind of regenerative ag. And I've talked about that. I think I talked to Gabe or one of the guys saying, is there opportunities for people, young people that want to, use up that energy, that desire to do something, to make a difference in the world in their sphere? And they say, yes, there are. We have people come on as interns and they come on there and they can support the ranch. And so I think as a community, I think it's incumbent upon us as meat eaters, and particularly carnivores, to really sort of push this message and hopefully inspire people. We're seeing films like this inspire some of us to want to, throw it all away and go, buy 100 acres and become regenerative ranchers ourselves. But besides that, it's having these young kids that have all this energy and social media acumen to get out there and, be activists for this type of stuff. And I think that's important. And hopefully films like this will inspire people to do that. And I think we're silly if we don't try to capitalize on that and, help utilize some of that energy from the youth rather than, continually fight against it.
And something that I do feel like I admire vegans about, though, is really they do come together and collaborate, and they will spread the word. They will go everywhere and be visible and get the message out. I feel like that's how their movement got so much momentum and everything. So I think that's admirable on their part. It's like if we could come together and do the same for regenerative farming, it'd be so powerful. But I just remembered in UCI, like I went to UC Irvine, and it's just, you would see them pretty regularly talking about veganism and promoting it. It's like pretty common, I feel like, in college campuses, at least in, I don't know, in California, maybe.
Yeah, we just need to develop, and it's not necessarily me to do this, but we need to develop some young people that are educated in this stuff to get out there and, kind of evangelize this stuff to this college campuses and come well prepared with, good solid foundation of knowledge and presentation skills and so on and so forth. And I think that's what will help, to some degree.
And,
I think films like this, because you hear these people pointing out to Forks Over Knives and Dominion and all these other, vegan propaganda films that inspire them to do this. And hopefully we'll see the equal inspiration from this type of stuff.
Yeah, and they are dedicated. They're a dedicated group. As someone that was in that world, and they're so laser focused. It's their life. It's their identity, and that's another part they talked about in the film is the vegetarian, vegan. They're being their identity, and you do kind of have an aesthetic issue. Farms aren't pretty in the sense of we thinking that of them being pretty, and just the image of a farmer, kind of dirty, kind of muddy. We think, animals go to the bathroom, so it's that. And a lot of us, most of our experiences with the farm is driving up the 5 and you go through that area and it smells terrible, which I've heard is just poorly kept farming. If you actually do the regenerative, I heard that you don't really have that deepest smell, but I'm not sure about that.
It's usually like the dairies that smell bad.
Oh.
Yeah, it's because the cows are concentrated on dirt and stuff like that. But yeah, when they're on pasture, they don't really smell.
Hey guys, I just got home. I got to shut this one down for me. But anyway, you guys have a good night.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping in, Shawn.
Been a while.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
You too. See you, Shawn.
All right. Yeah, I went to Cal Poly Pomona, which is a agricultural engineering school. Oh, there's animals right there on campus. There's horses. There's even cows. There's a cow with a window in its side, so you can look inside the cow. Take the cover off, and you can look inside. So, yeah. So we I
saw it on Food Inc. They showed something like that in Food Inc. Remember, where the guy dug his hand in that cow to help it digest.
Yeah. So
I haven't watched that one.
I don't recall that coming up, in the curriculum. I don't remember anything about regenerative agriculture of any kind.
No.
Yeah,
I've never heard of it before going carnivore, honestly.
Perhaps that's a good place to go to, though, is like the teachers and the professors and stuff like that. When we're there, like Kubota brings their tractors to show everybody, hey, jump on a tractor and give it a try, and stuff like that. And I was kind of, when I started college quite a while ago, Apple, had made sure that there was Apple computers in the classrooms so that people would get exposed to them, just like Kubota tractors. So I don't see why, we couldn't make a push to get regenerative agriculture and videos like Sacred Cow introduced to the curriculum.
That'd be so awesome. I think it's totally possible too, because I feel like since there's more awareness of it now and there's resources like the movie and all these experts, I feel like it's totally much more, and there's evidence that's showing it is helping, and more people are doing it. I feel like there's definitely momentum. I feel like that's a great direction to go, like the college campuses.
I remember 3 years ago, I could say that there was not. No, I think the science was there even 3 years ago, but now it's like overwhelming.
Oh, nice.
I mean, no question about the science of how meat does to the human body. And also now that we're going on top of regenerative, how well it does to the planet. So we're talking about making the world go around, which is a counter to exactly what vegans are saying. Mm-hmm. So the problem is they had their time to voice their stuff. We just got started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that gets me fired up. I'm like, yes, we're going.
I was having a phone conversation with my sister who lives in Iowa probably about 3 weeks ago, and she was kind of lamenting how like people didn't know about regenerative agriculture and stuff like that. And I'm like, but I talk about it all the time. It comes up, we bring it up in videos all the time, which goes to show my family never watches my videos.
They don't,
but
yeah, mine either.
Oh.
But yeah, no, see, I mean, I was trying to tell her like, no, there's lots of people trying to get the message out, right? I mean, I'm just a guy with a little YouTube channel, but there's people doing traveling, doing lectures. There's ranches that you can go see. Like Ray, didn't you go to one of the ranches?
Yeah, White Oak Pastures.
Yeah, so
where's that?
That's over in Bluffton, Georgia.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah. It's about 2.5 hours from me. 3 hours in the morning. Yeah.
Wow.
And even if you go to like Whole Foods, they have like local meat there now. I've been seeing more and more local meat at Whole Foods, grass-fed, regenerative. I think they even have a regenerative tag now.
Really?
I swear the last time on like one of the steaks, I know it says local for sure, but I swear they have a label for regenerative or something like that. I mean, all I know is I bought eggs for $8.25 a carton. It's like, I'm pretty sure they're it says like they eat bugs and they're roaming around and they're free range chicken. And, I had them raw, and usually like I get like a stomach ache and stuff like that. And if they're conventional eggs, but these ones, they didn't really bother me at all. Like, and it just felt so nutritious, and I had a lot of energy the rest of the day. So I usually react to eggs. I'm trying to add eggs back in. Mm. But yeah, if I get the high dollar, even pastured eggs would mess me up. But these ones that are like, I'm pretty sure they're regenerative because they're on like moving. In the movie, for those that haven't watched it, they have the chickens on a moving platform. The chicken coop is moving throughout the pasture through the farm, which is so cool.
They go out and they move the chicken coop every day. They move like 10 feet or whatever.
And so I read that on the package, and I actually read that after watching the film, and it was like, oh, these are the eggs I should buy. Then I looked at the price, and it was like, these are the eggs I should buy.
That's how much I pay for my eggs, by the way.
Oh.
I do get it from a local farm, Carlton Farms, over here in Georgia. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's worth it. Honestly, we're all going to gripe. You save so much money on carnivore. You're not going there getting the Starbucks. You're not getting ice cream. Well, maybe you're getting Mammoth, but you're not, there's a lot. We're not spending money on salsa and potato chips, and we're not buying $3 avocados, and so let's put that money into the regenerative farms. I really am trying to move in that direction. I really am. Do
you guys remember that part of the movie where the guy was showing the different beef, the butcher had the different beef and he got
It made me hungry. Yes, of course I remember that.
Do you remember when he got to the Holstein? Did you see how marbled that dairy cow was? I was
Beautiful.
like, holy moly.
They're
Look at
older.
that.
They're,
It was dark looking meat too. I mean, I drive past dairy cows all the time and I go, and I think of them separately from like the beef cattle, you know? And now I saw that beautiful meat and I'm like, maybe there's some tasty, well marbled meat in those things after all.
I will be trying one tomorrow. I got it from Carter County Farms. It's a double age, so they sell 4 to 12 years old steers.
What?
And they hang age it also. But I'll let you guys know how that is because I just thawed some ribeye and a fillet to go together with it. My first try will be raw because with that kind of thing, I don't want to ruin it by cooking it at first. But maybe the next one will be different.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. Let us know. Oh my gosh.
I will. So I'm excited to. So far, the fat is not as yellow as I thought it would be, but I put a link below if you're interested in looking at that Carter County country. So we'll see.
One part of the film that I was, my favorite, just because it's something that I think is like so important is, meat and milk for the third world. There's so many, I mean, like, we talk about, ours is expensive. It's hard to get regenerative. I mean, there's places of the world where they literally don't have access to meat and where children are growing up underweight. Yes. Malnutrition. And we talk about here how we want to like help the third world, and we're not helping them. We're sending them grains.
Yes.
Pretty much corn, basically. We're
hungrier.
We're getting them calories, but what, Charmaine?
Oh no, we're like messing them up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, steaks for the homeless is something I want to like start. You know what I mean?
That would be so cool.
That would be so cool.
Just get a grill, right?
I love how that Peter Ballestead said, we're not feeding the world right now. And he's right. A lot of, there's this incorrect assumption that we are feeding the world today. We're not. And I didn't realize that. There's 2 billion that go hungry in the world. So we're actually not able to keep up with our population.
Well, we have to remember that part of that problem is distribution. There's enough food.
Right. There's enough food to
necessarily get it to the people. So, but back on the children, I think it's important to say that not only do children not grow or develop as fast, but it directly impacts things like their IQ and their school performance.
Yes, I like how it said that too.
Yeah.
Well, even here, the school that they're trying to do meatless Mondays at school, I mean, man, teacher, keep those kids at home. You know what I mean? Like, maybe
that's that Monday.
Right. I mean, I couldn't imagine sending my kid to school and they're like, we're having meatless Monday. I'd be down the principal's throat or something, be like, we're bringing you steaks, you're packing your lunch every day, you know what I mean? And I remember the big fight over pizza being a vegetable. Remember that? Because of the tomato sauce on it. And it's like we're fighting for the wrong thing. The pizza is probably better because at least it has ham or pepperoni on it,
That's a good point.
And on the film, they showed some of the school lunches. I mean, to me, there was no meat on there. I was like, there's no quality. It's like ground beef at the most or dry turkey. And you're like, what is that?
Man, I remember cutting up a burger at school and it had newspaper clippings in it. Like you could literally see like the ink print and like, it's like, man, there's not a lot of meat in this newspaper here. We'd make fun of it, like for real.
There was ground up newspaper beef.
I mean, it was supposedly supposed to be ground beef, but like you could see like ink, like running ink, like in the meat. I still ate it because it's nasty. Like, I'm kind of I used to be kind of a garbage can when it came to food. Like I would just eat like whatever. But like, no, like it was gray. Like it did not like, no, like it just, I don't think it was meat is what I'm getting at.
Did you say gray?
Yeah, it was gray with ink. like black ink.
I've never heard of that before, but I do know that like some of those high fiber cereals, the fiber that they put in there is
Oh.
actually shredded cardboard.
No, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, so
But my favorite was the chicken fried steak. We'll throw that out there. Again, could have been made with the same meat. Who knows? But I just remember that being good. Anyway, that's.
I'm worried. I'm very, very.
And with my chocolate milk, of course, and the
Yeah.
apple juice or whatever. That's all.
I remember that.
When I was a kid, I don't know. At some point in school, I sold milk out a little window for the school. Lunchtime. It's like I don't know how I got the gig, but like you got to get out of class early to go sell milk, and then because it was like a little window on the side of the cafeteria for kids who just were buying milk. They didn't have to wait in line, and everybody bought chocolate, milk, and it's full of sugar, right?
That's the only thing I had when I was young. I only had chocolate milk, and I didn't really eat, so I just had
Talk
chocolate
about
milk.
setting yourself for a lifelong of addiction. That would do it.
Mhm.
And there's no
Right.
issue with, I remember my middle school lunch being a bag of Doritos and a Sprite. Like that was like my traditional go-to for middle school,
A bag of chips and soda is pretty common meal for a lot of kids. One time.
Even adults,
Yeah.
that's a common meal. What are you
Yes,
talking
yes.
about,
Yeah.
kids?
Yeah.
I've seen
Like popcorn. I know a lot of people who just eat like popcorn.
Yes.
That's their meal.
I've seen them do microwave popcorn and have a soda, and I'm like, oh my god.
Could it be
Oh,
more nutrient
man.
deficient than
Right.
popcorn? I mean,
Right.
there's not a lot
for
of
me,
calories
like-
in it, but it's empty calories, right?
Right. It's waste of time. but when I was in high school and elementary school and middle school, mine was mostly just sandwiches, like just it was just a peanut butter sandwich.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Air.
and you wonder why you can't like focus or whatever in class. I mean, I remember for breakfast, I'd go get a donut, until something. Anyway, I'm not going to tell that story on this podcast. So wait till the podcast ends to tell the donut story at the school. Anyway, but yeah, just say they stopped serving donuts after that day.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm guessing it wasn't because it had newspaper in it.
No, the newspaper and the donut was fine. Yeah, no,
All right.
LA County school system, LA County school district. I'll just throw that there.
Nothing but the best.
My schools, the one I went to, have been on the news several times, and it wasn't for ever achievement or anything actually good.
Gosh.
Anyway, back to Sacred Cow. Cows are great. Love cows. Much better than the schools that I went to. I'd much rather grow up in a farm than. That's another point. So Joe Salatin, speaking of career, I'm tying this in. I'm going to tie this together. Watch me. So, all the schooling and stuff like that. Like Joe Salatin's point about, they're so happy, the kid's going to be a doctor or a lawyer. It's like people should be proud if their kid wants to grow up and be a farmer. Because you're actually like contributing to life, you're growing life, you're making things better on the planet, you're adding to people's health, more than doctors with what we know, you know what I mean?
You should want your kid to grow up and be a butcher too, You should want your kid to grow up
That's a good one.
and be a welder or an electrician or any of those good trades. But yeah, and hopefully one of these days it won't just be mostly cattle ranching. Hopefully we'll do some mammoth ranching before too long, because I can't wait to have a mammoth ribeye and see if I can beat Justin eating it. So
it's on. And as a person with 3 degrees, it's not worth it. Any kids or teenagers watching this, don't do it. Don't take up the debt. Go become a farmer. We'll hire you. We'll hire you on our farm. There you go.
yeah, my poor sister's older than I am. She's still paying her student loans.
Oh my gosh.
But she went to the best
Crazy.
school. She got to go to the best school, so she was saddled with debt for the rest of her life. Yeah, so there's more to it. I think that's one of the problems. We were complaining about the meat industry earlier, but the education industry is another issue. You know, you basically get tied into borrowing money, and you think, oh, if I go to this prestigious school, I'm going to make all this money and pay that off in no time. And that, I mean, when you're a kid, you don't really realize how much these jobs pay a lot of times. You know, you're just not going to make enough money to make it worthwhile. And you're working right alongside people who went to schools that weren't prestigious and paid a lot less, you know, so it's not worth it.
Right.
So, and I think once regenerative agriculture catches on, these people are going to make good livings doing it. And especially if we can, you know, they can market locally and cut out a lot of the extra transportation and stuff like that and middlemaning and whatnot, you know. Why not buy direct from your farmer, right? I mean, nobody thinks twice. If you could go to an apple orchard, buy apples at the apple orchard, nobody thinks twice about it. So why not buy your meat that way? Right?
I'm curious, like, do you guys, so I know, Raymond, you were talking a little bit about going to the farm, but do any of you guys ever like buy from, or have you bought from there in California?
I haven't. I've been working on it. I belong to a little Facebook group where we're going to try and network people. And I've worked on it a little bit. I have not gotten to that where I've bought direct from a farmer myself, but probably start with the place that Shawn recommended because it's pretty local.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do
oh my
it.
gosh.
Go!
When I go
That'd
to
be
the
awesome.
line, oh my gosh.
I'm glad.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll try and get in touch with them. If we don't hear from him, I'll bug Shawn for an email address or something, and I'm sure he'll help out. He's always generous. So
We can
trying. Oh, go ahead.
We can go cow picking instead of apple picking for
yeah, instead of going to the pumpkin patch, we'll go get a sheep or something.
Oh.
We each come home with a quarter.
I love it. There you
How
go.
awesome would that be?
Oh my gosh,
cool.
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to get at least half my grocery bills in regenerative. So
nice, Ray.
Well, that's a great idea, Ray.
yeah, you got to start somewhere. You know that.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing right about a quarter, and now I'm trying to get into the half mark. So, and eventually, I see it where I'll just give up Costco. Which
We can start Regenerative Thursday. There's an R in Thursday. So
you go.
Regenerative Thursday.
It's a little bit of a reach, but I'm down.
I know, right? There's an R on Saturday too. You could do both.
I would like to do that again. I used to do that in some of my Facebook groups. Is like more meat Monday, and you know, I never could come up with something that sounded right for Tuesday, but I was like, you know, maybe tube steak Tuesday or something like that. But,
There you go.
But we should do that. Regenerative Thursday.
Regenerative Thursday. I'll go to Whole Foods and at least have my chickens. Yeah, Regenerative Thursday.
The objective is local, so yes, you can go to Whole Foods because they have local meats there, so that is nice. Better yet, go to that farm.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can pull that off. Why not? We'll get together and we'll drive down. At least the three of us from Southern California, maybe even
do a video in the meantime. Yeah,
never know.
Road trip.
Road trip.
That would be a fun video, just like going to the farm and seeing the animals. Oh, can we pet the animals?
I'm sure.
Yeah. So just to warn you about cows, so they've got this thin little fence, and they look like they will come charging at you because they're excited to see you. So they just start coming real fast, and they start getting faster and faster because they notice their neighbor cows are going faster and faster. So it feels like you're about to get into a stampede. So just to let you know, if you won't pet the cows, that's great, and they'll stop right before the wire.
Oh, dang. Thank you for telling me that. That's
I'm just letting you know.
I would panic like crazy. Or just
and if you go feed them corn, they will slobber all over your hands. So it's fun though. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I
got to move the cows. My sister, I have an aunt in Missouri, has property, and she had cows, and I got to help her move the cows while I spent a month in Missouri. And that was pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He has a farm?
Well, she has enough property for a few cows, you know, that she usually grabs like once a year.
That's where you should get your meat from. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Really. And yeah, that's what they usually do. But yeah.
Well, when I was visiting my girlfriend's father in Wisconsin, they live in the country, and they have a little radio show where people sell stuff. It's called Byline. And so like somebody's like, oh yeah, I got a ride-on mower, blah blah blah. And then some lady will come on, I got 4 head of cattle. They're at about 500 pounds. I want to get, but so you can literally just listen to the radio on like Saturday afternoon and buy cows in Wisconsin. So
Wow.
why not? Why not? Who wants to move? Who wants to get some land and start getting ready to raise mammoths?
Yes.
Mhm.
Can you imagine how much people would pay just to ride a mammoth? Put a saddle on,
Yeah.
just ride it around.
Awesome.
That'd be sweet.
I don't know the insurance cost though of letting people ride the mammoth.
Hey, when I was down in Texas, we were at the stockyards, and you could ride a longhorn. If you've ever been up close to a full-grown longhorn, that's a beast. I mean, they are huge, and I mean those horns they're like 6 feet wide. They're ginormous.
What?
They look ridiculous. They're like, how does that animal hold its head up? The horns are so big on a full-grown animal, and they're really that's the thing. Those big animals are really docile.
Because nothing will ever mess with them. They have nothing to be scared of. I think they could horn a lion. Like I'm not sure if a lion would be able to take down, a pack of lions, but not like a lion.
That's like a full-grown elephant. I mean, even a tiger doesn't stand a chance. It's like, a tiger is just a pest of a full-grown elephant. They will try and snatch people off of the elephants while they're riding them. Strangely enough, but they won't mess with an elephant if they think the elephant knows it's there. So crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, think about it. Maybe we could have a mammoth themed park,
Here we go.
Yeah.
I got
It's make stuff out of all that fur, That'd be the latest trend in purses, mammoth fur purses. I'm just saying. Think big, think the future.
So scientists, instead of working on feces and whatever lab-grown meat, let's do just Jurassic Park this mammoth thing up.
Yeah.
Or T-Rex. I'll eat T-Rex. I want a pet T-Rex. Just throwing that out there.
No, lizards. I don't think lizards taste as good, but
yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong.
I've eaten an alligator in Florida before, but that was, I don't know, texturally not my thing.
Yeah. To me, it's like chicken. I couldn't tell the difference. Of course, it was battered. It was like in this breading.
Right. It's
so
breaded.
You're tasting most of the bread. So I'm like,
Right.
whatever.
But if I ate that by itself, oh man, I don't know.
Rumor has it that giraffe is really tasty, but I'm just gonna leave that there.
There you go. Real quick, I want to let you guys know about Weston Price Foundation. If you're looking for a local farm, they're the people to reach. They know all the local farms in your area.
Good. We're gonna have to network all that stuff together, like Westen A Price and Eat Wild and
Eat Wild, yeah.
When there's that other one, I don't know. I have to look back in the notes and see because we've linked them before because there's several of them.
And
Neethi, Neethi the pharmacist. The wonderful thing about Weston Price is that their chapter leaders typically, at least here in Atlanta, they go through a farm tour once every quarter or so, and they'll just pick a farm, and then everybody goes checks it out.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Maybe you have to hook us up with the California edition of that.
What's the name again?
Westen A Price. He wrote
okay.
Book. Let me see if I've got the book here. I know I have the book handy.
Hang on.
He's a dentist?
Yes, that's right. You remember? Yes. So westonprice.org. Let me give you the link right here. So yeah, it's very cheap to be a member. I've been a member with them since 2010.
Oh wow.
So that's why I'm so familiar with a lot of the local farms here because of them.
Oh, nice.
This is the book that's well known from God. You can't see it.
There you go. Oh, for a second. You have to put your hand. Yeah,
Oh.
there you go.
So what's that about? It's
He traveled the world around in the 1940s. Is that right, guys?
Something like that.
1930s, 40s. And he was looking for actually his initial idea, he was trying to look for a vegetarian type or vegan type society and how they live. Because that was the popular thing back then, still is. And what he found out these the tribes that were meat eaters didn't have any dental caries. He was interested in the teeth formation.
Mm-hmm.
And, or he had a hard time finding any with dental caries. And he found out the more they strayed away from meat, the more dental caries they had. So he actually made that connection back then. Nowadays, it would be very hard to make that study because most of the indigenous tribes are kind of civilized now, if you want to call it that.
They eat
So
sugar
a lot
and
of
flour and stuff.
sugar and flour, right?
That makes them civilized.
Right. That makes them civilized, as you call it. Yeah.
You're not
So-
civilized till you have cavities.
Exactly. Or chronic diseases.
You're really civilized when you get diabetes.
Diabetes, that's it. That is the prime sign of
Your oatmeal.
civilization right there. Yeah.
Eat your oatmeal so you can get your free diabetes supplies.
So bottom line, that's what it is. And in that book that Tom has, by the way, very expensive book, it has actual pictures of these indigenous tribes and their teeth.
Oh, awesome. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of
and their
vegans make
jaws.
like they make that argument of how our teeth aren't supposed to eat meat and stuff.
Right.
Like, what do you guys say in response to that? Like, you refer
Number
to
one, people who ate meat didn't get dental caries or cavities. And we
Mhm.
know that because we dig up their graves. And so pre-agriculture, they very rarely had any cavities, right? And the other thing is the face and the jaws start to shrink when you get on an agricultural diet. And that's why people's mouths are too crowded and why the
Right.
sinuses aren't big enough and developed enough. So the more agricultural products we eat, the smaller our brain sizes get, the more joint disease and the shorter we get. So this is all well documented, and this is kind of some of the stuff that Westen A Price discovered. And the other thing was like they couldn't find any evidence of any vegetarian population anywhere. The only people who eat a lot, indigenous people that eat a lot of vegetables, are ones that are deprived of meat. People naturally know that's like you got to eat meat. Babies got to have meat. I mean, I've got a extended relative that just had a child, and they were talking about, oh yeah, we just give the baby formula because it's got all the vitamins and minerals in it, and I'm thinking, because healthy kids in Africa, they get weaned on zebra fat.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They don't, they eat meat, as soon as they're ready for solid food. They don't go on formula if they don't have to.
And the mothers would have to have heavy meat when they're about to, before they conceive. Both mother and father has to be on a heavy meat diet with lots of liver and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the tribes did that. But I think your question was our mouth formation. Is it really our mouth formation? That's what you're saying, the argument for the vegetarians?
Right, like in all the documentaries we watch, like the vegan documentaries, they say.
Well, we don't have the type of teeth to grind like cattle and stuff do. And if you look at like animals like gorillas and stuff like that, they have some pretty vicious looking teeth. And those guys mostly eat twigs and leaves. They don't even eat
bamboo sticks. Yeah.
But they do eat meat. They do eat each
Yeah,
other.
they do.
Chimps eat monkeys and chimps eat chimps.
Mm-hmm.
Gorillas eat whatever they want. So
I personally like to bypass the mouth and talk about the stomach and our digestive system. Because the stomach, our acid is between 1.5 and 2. Now, most carnivores in nature, tigers, bears, etc., have a stomach acid of 2.5, meaning that our stomach acid is more carnivorous or more adapted to, because you don't need strong stomach acid to break up leaves.
Right.
And so to me, that's a bigger thing. And the fact that, our small intestine is equal to that of, well, not equal to, but the structure is not that of the of herbivores. Our digestive system is way more carnivore or carnivorous, you know. And also, you know, you can talk about the ancestrally, the monkey or what ape that we evolved from apparently gave up stomach for brain, basically.
Yeah.
So we lost the capacity to ferment, because that's what happens in herbivores.
Herbivores either have a multi-chambered stomach where vegetation ferments, or they have a large cecum where it ferments, and in the case of the large cecum, you know, it's generating fatty acids. Where we just eat meat, fatty meat, and then we absorb those fatty acids in the small intestine right below the stomach. So, and we think that's why so many people have lower bowel diseases, because they eat too much vegetation. You know, they wind up with diverticulitis or whatever, Crohn's disease, and so on and so forth. And they talk about red meat, you know, being a colon risk. Well, inflammatory bowel disease is a much greater risk for cancer than eating meat could ever be. So right there, I think that's kind of where I settled it. I think it's pretty obvious that, you know, I don't know, I don't think Charmaine eats raw meat, but I know Justin has some, and I know me and Ray do all the time. So like, we don't have any trouble eating raw meat. The Inuits didn't have any trouble eating raw meat. The Sami don't. The Maasai don't. You know, people all over the world eat raw meat with the teeth they have all the time. So, and we developed a shoulder so we could throw a weapon and get an animal. We learned to run and walk upright so that we could hunt, you know, animals in the tall grass. And we learned to hunt as a group, and we can signal each other just by looking, whereas the other animals, you know, the other primates, they have a dark sclera, so it's hard to tell where they're looking, you know. And so all these adaptations that we have, and if I'm not mistaken, all the primates have 48 chromosomes and human beings have 46, right? So we evolved at some point and got these large brains from eating fatty meat, and our digestive tract is very efficient. I think Shawn's mentioned many times the studies they did on ileostomies, where they disconnect the bowel right below the small intestine. And when those people eat just meat, there's almost nothing that comes out, just a little bit of residue. So the small intestine's able to absorb almost everything in the meat after it goes through the stomach, assuming the stomach acid is correct. Yeah. So that's Justin made a good point. It's not just the teeth; it's the digestive tract.
Right.
We actually have a client on MeatRx that actually has a bag, and that's exactly what he states. And he says when he interestingly enough, when he eats it with cheese, it slows everything down and the whiteness comes out, but not the meat.
The whiteness?
Something about white
residue from the cheese.
Yeah, from the cheese, I guess. Yeah, it's weird. But not the meat, right?
That's so weird. I've been cutting down my dairy intake after I went through this certification. I was like, oh no, I'm like not eating as much. Anyway.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you love your cheese too, Charmaine.
Well, I used to, but then when I ate it too much, I mean, when I did carnivore and I had cheese and meat, it was not good together. So I do want to try, you know, definitely down the road, I want to try carnivore just like without cheese. I think that'd be much more like beneficial. But anyway, yeah, just I'm cutting, like I only limit my dairy to just like once a week at most, but I'm like,
I like that. That's smart. I like
yeah, and it's just, it's not, I don't agree with it. So I'm like,
Yeah, dairy's a tricky subject for sure. We definitely haven't had access to dairy for the length of time that we've had access to meat. So,
I mean, some people say the raw dairy is okay. I don't know. What are your thoughts on like raw dairy?
I would think that that's probably healthier, you know, assuming it's not contaminated, than homogenized or pasteurized or whatever. And then there's also the issue of casein A1 and A2. So Holsteins have a mutation and they create a different protein, which seems to irritate a lot of people's immune systems.
Right.
So that can be an issue. And then, there's a big difference between drinking whole milk and drinking 2% milk, and still yet different drinking cream or eating cheese. And so dairy is kind of a minefield. And of course, people from Northern European extractions tend to produce lactase, the enzyme for breaking down lactose, throughout their life, and the rest of the world doesn't,
Yeah,
So,
that's my problem.
yeah.
I don't break it down. We do buy raw milk from our farm, and it is a A2 raw milk for my kids. But it doesn't sit well with me still. So.
Wow.
I'd say eat it if it works for you, but
Yeah.
consider a potential problem if, because it's tricky.
Right. Right. I mean, most people are pretty sensitive, though. I feel like a lot of people are sensitive to it. I feel like.
Are you lactose
Well,
intolerant, Charmaine?
My dad is, but the more like carnivore I went, like, it's just when you start like eliminating more things in your diet, you start to get to see what your body actually could tolerate. And then, like when I went carnivore, I felt like that's when I was really starting to see like, oh, I don't tolerate dairy so well, so I'm also limiting nuts too. I only eat nuts like once a week also. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's just, I can't eat.
See, when I transitioned from keto to carnivore,
everything.
I know.
Yeah. That's what happened to all of us.
Yeah, that's what happened to us.
You're like, oh, you know what? Those nuts that really don't agree with me. How did I not notice this before?
Right.
Wow, dairy, I really got to be
you don't
careful.
know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, even eggs. I don't agree with eggs that well.
Yeah.
Right.
I can eat egg yolk, but not egg
I
white.
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that was a thing either. So.
Yeah, so like some people, if you cook the egg white really well, they're fine. But some people like me, I think I'm allergic to them. And when I was weightlifting and eating on more or less a SAD diet, I was gulping egg whites all the time. Used to buy cartons of just egg whites for the protein. But now they pretty clearly don't agree with me. They activate my psoriasis and stuff like that. I don't feel as good. So egg whites are tricky. So, but plenty of people eat whole eggs all the time and they're fine. So. Wow.
Well, I gotta get going, you guys.
Yeah, we should wrap this up. Hey, you're welcome anytime. It's always a pleasure to have you, Charmaine.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you in the loop. Maybe you'll come back soon. So
yeah, we gotta do the farm field trip.
Yeah, for sure.
The farm trip.
The farm
trip.
And I gotta thank Shawn for popping in.
Yeah.
Nobody supports
thank you, Shawn.
Nobody supports the carnivore movement like Shawn does.
Oh yeah.
I gotta hand it to that guy when they were beating him down, he doubled down.
Yeah. And if you want to find Shawn, he's Shawn Baker 67 on Twitter, also on Instagram, and at meatrx.com, of course, where me and Raymond are coaches,
Yeah, that's where Justin and I met, and Raymond and I met, and then Justin and I bumped into Charmaine at DAPT LA/Long Beach. Right, we went down there to see Shawn talk, and we wound up meeting Charmaine. So all kinds of good things came out of it.
And Charmaine, how can we get in contact with you?
Yeah.
Oh, check me out on Instagram. I am at sugarfree.selfcare.
I will put everybody's contact in the show notes, of course, and try and wrap up all the other information in there as well. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Leave us a comment, leave us a thumbs up. Make sure you stay subscribed. Make sure you get the notifications, which everybody tells me they never get my notifications. So I don't know what to do about that. But until next time, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
don't fall down the carb hole.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah.
Boomerang.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Got my boomerang somewhere.